Hey people, that last movie I put up, The Real Origin of the Torah, it's got a way higher like ratio and viewer retention than my other movies. It's a good movie, don't miss that one. And I read Genesis 1, the first 2 lines in this old Torah in the 3 different ways with all the directional markings, and plus in the Greek. I'll read those first 2 lines and show you how all that reads. So I'm going to look at this word Lucia in this movie, and it's just the Lewsio here, and they say it means to save or help. Anytime that the Hebrews were at war, Israel's at war, this is who always come to help them, was Lucia. See, it comes up here, Deuteronomy 24, Leusio, Lucia. There's no vowel points there. The word Lucifer, it's going to look like this. It's going to look like to save. And fur in the Hebrew is when he called his name. Fur, to call. He brought them to Adam to see what he would call Ephra, I-Q-R-A, or I-F-R-A, Ephra, to what he referred them to, called Ephra. And that's what Lucifer would mean, to save, call. That's the one that they were calling upon, is Lucifer. They got it totally flipped around on us. And you can see here where your word Hulk come from, the Hulk, the E-O-L-K. And he's the one who goes to fight with you. Call the Hulk in. So this key over here, this is the same that's in the Greek, they say is and, K-A-Y. When you're reading it with the upper markings, this reads as a K-A-Y. It just means a vav, like this vav here. It means and, or just a W. And it's written like this because it means different things, different ways you read it. So if you look at this key, you'll see it has many meanings. They give it many meanings, and a lot of them are the same meanings that for and because are the same meanings that they'll give it in the Greek. And so you just replace it with a W, a vav, and it's vi, why have, and so it's why have means who have, and so either way you read this with the upper markings or with just the letters, So if you're just reading the letters, it's who have, Liam, L-E-I-K-S, L-E-I-K-M, Aleikum. And if you're reading it with the upper markings, it's still, who have, and then a halo, A-L-O, with the dot up above, and then O-E is the odal, so there's a L-E-I-K-M, K-I-M. So it's this word, the Leikum, is either way, and just when you're reading with the upper markings, it adds the halo. And so, Leeson, there's only a couple words found in the world that start with a L-E-I-C-E, and they're all having to do with Leicestershire. And they say it was built on an old Roman settlement, but you can't believe anything they say. But, it's the Leeks, the abbreviation. And there's a sheep named for him, a white sheep named after this county. And best chances are the county was named after the sheep. And I believe that's where your word fleece. Mary had a little lamb, his fleece was white as snow. I believe that has to do with white. The cester, your ancestors, the white before. Leicester is a large white-faced sheep. So there used to be this ancient religious cult that thought the sheep was going to come and save them. You see that old Leicester with his halo. And this cult's still going on today. I got one of their members that let me know that Elohim is a plural form of El. And I know where he's coming from. I know that this cult, they pride themselves on preying on children. But this El, it might mean a god. And so plural of that would be a gods. And, El could also mean two. And it has many other meanings. This El could even mean nay, not, nor. The same word for not, they're going to give God. So I'm not saying that these words can have these meanings. I'm saying they made up the meaning for every word in here to fit this King James fairy tale. But this Hosea, it pretty much stays consistent with this save. And this is the same word that Lucy comes from. It's in this group of words that must be over 100, maybe about 100 ways. And it seems like this Hosea is the base of it. And this is a word that keeps in Greek. You know, the Hosea, to save my people, he saves. And when you look at it, you know, with the L in front of it, of Hosea, Lucia, you know, they say it means L is to save, and they will give the L to often, but it more means of. And Hosea. And if you look over there across in the Greek, you'll see that this word, you know, holds up pretty good. You know, you still see the diastasis here. He shall preserve. And sometime it even gets closer here, you know, and there arose after Abimelech to save of Hosea. And you can see here in the Greek that it's still, you know, as say. And who they're actually praying to is, you know, so Satan is what they're praying to. And they don't even know it. So before they come up with this script with all these vowel points, you know, it was just the Aleicm. Aleicm, a white-faced sheep is what it said. And you, a white-faced sheep, the elk. You know, before all the points, there was no O. It was just the ELK. And the first time you see this word come up, you know, was in Genesis 2. And it gives a better idea of the language. You know, if you drew a picture of an elk back in the day, it means it runs along the river. And the name of a river, third, is the Tigris. It runs along. So it's not talking about the river. It's talking about what's running along the river is the elk. And so in you, the halo lisum, you, the haloed sheep, the L-O comic, the comic. It's a joke that they're not getting. The L comic from. To will come, of come, and then backwards, to make ivy. And so I'll come to make ivy. And then backwards, it's avicum, you know, to throw out your enemies, to avic, and to make ivy avicum. And this fight, this is of the, and this is alchemy, you know, alchem, and you know, this is what it's going to come to. If you keep on putting your finger in my face, you know, it'll come. This is what it's going to come to, a fight. The alchemy. Alchemy is the base word for fight, battle, wars, all through the Bible. This is the main word for that. And this is where alchemy comes from. And you see it in the French tarot. The ace, you know, is le batelier, and that's the French word for the magician. And so when it's talking about all these wars in the Bible, it's talking about an alchemist cooking up a potion. And so in that movie yesterday, it was talking about the halo of the fool. And so the halo of the batelier is different. It's infinity. And you, the halo lease from the Hulk Omic, from will come. The Hulk Omicum of will come. Of comum, to make ivy. And ivy is your enemy. That's the base word, just the ivy. And it's the enemy of alcohol, of drunkenness, is ivy. Is supposed to make you sober. And to make ivy, and then evicum, you know, evicum, to run them out. And you can see that in the Greek, you know, for your enemy is the exter, you know, exterminate, to exterm, to run them out. And so I'm sure that's where the word extort come from, and exterm. Whom on today, so see, whom as. And so, and you, the halo lease from the Hulk Omicum. Hulk Omicum is not just to dig. You know, the Hulk is a hole or cavity. You know, in English, in the Old English, in the German, small hole, a hollow to dig out. And in the German, it was a barge, a boat, a large cargo ship. And in the Swedish, to cover, to hide, conceal. but also, a recess or a cavity. But it's also a pipe stuffed with cannabis, a joint. When I was a kid, we used to smoke weed out of a hulk, a dugout. The hulk, a hammock. I'm over here studying on my hulk. And you can see it, this is the word, the reason they have all them different definitions. If you're reading the lower markings, it's the EO and then E again. So it's the O and then HOL, and then the dots underneath the E, and the whole, and then you're reading the K, and then back this way again, EEL. Up to this hook tells you to read those letters again. And so it's the whole keel, is the boat. And when you're reading just the letters, it's the L. And when you're reading the upper, it's the whole give. So when you're reading with the upper markings, it's why who have halo, the least me whole comic from. Oval com, and you see, this HM, you see it right here at the end, CHEM, is where your word chemistry comes from, what comes out of what you're cooking up, with what you're trying to get out of, the chem. Ovochem ulcumum, to make the ivy a vicum, to drive out the drunken spirits. L of HOW, of how, a sea of et come. And you see over here in the Greek, added the curious of theo and summon, SUMON, to summon, the summon of the proper who of men as with, to summon up some help. So this word Lucia, that means to save, to defend, to deliver, to help. And it actually does say save sometimes. You'll see the markings are always different under this S here. It has change in points. It always has that A point, and then it'll have other points that'll change. But when it comes up with these 2 points here, this is the AV, and it's the LIE, the lie, and then the OV, and then the SAV, YOO, to save you, and the lie save you. And over here, Samuel 10:11, it comes up 2 different ways here, the same number to help, LISUOE and LEUSIO. And I pulled this off in with the Greek and put it on paint so we can look at it. So this is, why, yam, or who says, and then AM. The taxes read this backwards. This is a Q, but it often reads as the P or the F. They both switch up. The P and the Q both do that. And you see it, if it is too strong. And it's the AMPZHT, amps it. And amps it up. He done cranked it up. Powered up. Who says amps it has farm, FARM. And amps it has farm from many. The white lily swole. From many white lilies swole. And a lily could be the moon, a full moon, the lily swole, the white lily swole, a full moon. And you see the magician here with the white lilies. And we call the white lily, we call them an Easter lily because they bloom at Easter. And Easter's totally set with the moon stage. The first full moon after the sun crosses the equator, Easter, is when the white lily swole. But in the Greek over here across from this, the white lilies vole, is we cest, your family, your cest. And the cest, the family, the SESTE. And the cest of my family, esoterian. EISSOTHRIAN. Esoterian. Esoteric is intended for or likely to be understood by only a small number of people with a specialized knowledge, interest. This was always secret. Coming from the Greek, the EIS into in esoterio. the EIS, now they say it's 4, where they said it was into. But the esoterian is what it says. And the family, and we cest of my esoterian is the white lilies vole. A lot of those lilies are toxic, and the white lily, also called the Madonna lily. And I'm not sure which one it is, but I know there's a lily that they cook a hallucinogenic up out of the roots. And they'll tell you that the Hebrew word for the lily is the Shoshana as the lily, but the poem doesn't match the science. It's called the lily of the valley, but this white lily didn't grow in the valley. It wouldn't grow down in there. It grows up. It grows up in the rocks. And they say the white lily symbolizes chastity, and that's what Gabriel was handing the Virgin Mary. And Gabriel, he's always comes to tell of a birth, and it was the birth of Easter he come to tell. And I may be wrong. I may be thinking about the iris that they would using to cook up that hallucinogenic. And you can see here where they get this strength, and it's not coming from, they say this is Syria over here, which is Aram, they say is Syria over here, ARM, the farm. And over here it's SUROS. This S going over here, SUPEREME. The supreme is the strength over me. And the supreme we family, my esoterian. And why Yammer amps it has farm of many white lilies swole. And Amin bin a moon. And Amin bin a moon. Amin means faithful, trustworthy, dependable. When that lily blooms this Easter. And Amen bin, and faithful being the time a moon itches comes, a moon comes fumic, and elect elucia, and elect eluciolic. So I'm pretty sure Lucia means the white light. And you see in Saint Lucia, you see her eyes on the plate. And hyphen on Kratos says, where a supreme we cest my esoterian. We on, W, same as in the Hebrew, this is a W. And we on Vio. And Vio is the way, the via, the vehicle, the road and the car. And we on via, and we on way. A moon Kratos Susan. A Susan is, it turns. Lazy Susan turns. And the Krata is the governing. And a moon is the big white thing in the sky. And a moon governs the turn. A purse. And for whoso may to us Jose see. And for us so may to Jose see. Jose, the haloed sheep. And you see that in the Hebrew, the sun is the sheep, the XAN, the exon. The sheep has the exon. The haloed sheep that's got the X on him. So it's all just symbols. They have other meanings. And you see all these words they'll say mean sheep. And you see the same word. This is Moses here. It's the MSE. Sometimes the sheep. It looks like the beginning of your word, the Messiah. And so I barely looked into this Lucia, but I know I want to read this one. And I believe I'll catch the next movie. Because you can see it's, after is a hurry. And who come a hurry? And there arose after. Now, who come a hurry means immediately after. And Abby milk, this is two different words here. The Abby is the father, and the milk is the king. The father king, Lucia. And I'll look a little closer in that and get it in the next movie, but I got road construction going on at night here. It's shaking the whole house. So I'm going to cut this one off here. Good day.